They said love could never cross the line between royalty and poverty, but in the heart of Nnokwa kingdom, one dance, one heartbeat, one moment beneath the moon changed destiny forever. People of the land, gather close because tonight, I'll tell you a story. In the land of Nnokwa, there ruled a great king, Eze Nkemjika, known far and wide for his wisdom and fairness. His people loved him deeply, and the gods seemed to favor every decision he made. Yet, one thing weighed heavily on his royal heart, the choice of a wife for his only son and heir, Prince Obina. It had been prophesied that if the prince chose wrongly, the peace of Nnokwa would shatter like clay in the hands of an angry potter. The royal seer, Dibia Mul, warned that the gods would send a sign during the Maiden dance, a festival where maidens from all clans danced before the prince, who would then choose his bride. But fate, mischievous and unpredictable, had other plans. Far from the palace, in a small thatched hut near the banks of the Idemili River, lived a poor maiden named Chinaza. Her father had died during a war season, and her mother, old and frail, made a living weaving baskets for the market. Though they owned little, Chinaza carried herself with quiet grace. Her beauty was not the loud kind that boasted of vanity. It was soft, radiant, and alive with innocence. Every morning, she fetched water from the river, singing as she worked. Her voice carried through the forest like the call of a morning dove, gentle, yet impossible to ignore. One morning, as she bent to fill her clay pot, she heard the sound of hoofbeats. Horses, royal horses. From behind the trees emerged Prince Obina himself, dressed in a white wrapper and red beads that gleamed against his brown skin. He had gone hunting with his guards, but had wandered off alone, chasing a wounded antelope. When he saw Chinaza by the water, time seemed to halt. The prince, who had been surrounded by beauty all his life, suddenly found himself staring at something deeper, a beauty that didn't seek to be seen. Their eyes met, and in that instant, something stirred between them. Chinaza quickly bowed. "No, my prince, forgive me. I did not hear you approach." Obina smiled faintly. "No need for fear. The gods themselves must have guided me here." He helped her lift her water pot, their fingers brushing briefly, a spark that lingered longer than either expected. As he rode away, he kept glancing back. The river rippled behind her, and her song still floated on the air. The prince didn't know it yet, but his heart had been stolen by a maiden of no title, no wealth, and no chance of royal favor. When Obina returned to the palace, he could not sleep. He dreamed of the girl by the river, her laughter, her calm eyes, the way the sunlight touched her hair. Days passed. He visited the forest more often, using hunting as an excuse. Each time he saw Chinaza, and soon their meetings became intentional. They spoke about the stars, the river spirits, and dreams. The prince told her he felt trapped in golden chains, while Chinaza confessed she sometimes wished the gods had not made her poor. But love doesn't ask permission, it simply grows. One moonless night, Dibia Muo entered the palace unannounced, his white, chalk-streaked face lit only by the glow of his staff. "My king," he began gravely, "your son's heart is walking a forbidden path." Eze Nkemjika frowned. "Speak plainly, seer." "The prince's soul is tied to that of a maiden the gods did not approve. If he chooses wrongly, the land will suffer drought and sickness. He must not marry her." The king was troubled. "Who is this maiden?" The Dibia's eyes turned distant. "She is a child of dust, poor as the earth she walks on. But destiny may not listen even to kings." That night, the king summoned Obina. "Son," he said, "I have heard troubling words. Tell me the truth. Who occupies your heart?" Obina hesitated. then spoke with quiet conviction. Her name is Chinaza. She is humble but pure. I love her, father. The king slammed his staff on the ground. You are a prince. You cannot marry a commoner. The gods have forbidden it. But Obina, his jaw firm, replied, Then let the gods themselves come and take her from my heart. To restore order, the king declared the long-awaited festival of the maidens. All eligible daughters of noble birth were invited to dance before the prince. Whichever maiden's dance pleased him most would become his bride, a royal decision that would also please the gods. The festival day arrived with grandeur. The palace square was draped in red and gold. Drummers beat the ojene. The air smelled of roasted yam and palm oil, and maidens shimmered in colorful wrappers. Word spread quickly, even to the humble quarters near Idemili. Shinaza's mother told her, My child, it is not for the likes of us. Stay home and pray the rains come early. But that night, Shinaza dreamt of a glowing white dove landing on her hand. A woman's voice whispered, Your destiny waits in the dance. When she awoke, she knew what she must do. The drums thundered as the maidens lined up. The prince sat beside his father on the royal stool, his face unreadable, though his heart was restless. One by one, the maidens danced, graceful, skilled, beautiful, but none stirred his spirit. Then, when the last drum was about to fade, a sudden hush swept through the crowd. A new figure stepped into the square, barefoot, wrapped in a simple white cloth with beads made of cowries and shells. It was Chinaza. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Who let her in? Whispered the palace guards. She is no noble woman. But before anyone could stop her, she began to dance. The drums seemed to obey her movements. Her steps were light yet fierce. Her body swayed like water under moonlight. Each turn told a story of love, of struggle, of freedom. The crowd fell silent, captivated. Even the wind held its breath. And when Obina's eyes finally met hers across the circle of firelight, time stopped again. Without hesitation, the prince stood. He walked into the square and placed his coral necklace, the royal symbol of choice, around her neck. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. The king's face hardened. The prince has chosen, he declared in disbelief. A peasant girl? But the drums roared in defiance. The people began to cheer, first softly, then wildly. Love had spoken louder than fear. That night, the Dibia came once more, furious. Eze Nkemjika, the gods are angered. The sky will mourn your son's disobedience. And indeed, as midnight came, thunder split the heavens. A storm lashed the kingdom. Crops were destroyed, roofs torn apart. The Dibia proclaimed it a curse. Until the prince renounces her, the land shall know no peace. The king ordered Chinaza to be banished beyond the village borders. Soldiers came to seize her, but before they could drag her away, the prince appeared, sword in hand. Whoever touches her, he warned, will answer to me. The king's heart broke at the sight of his son defying him. You would throw away a kingdom for a girl. Obina lowered his sword. Not for a girl, father, for love. The soldiers hesitated. The storm howled louder, and suddenly lightning struck the royal Udara tree, splitting it in half. Everyone froze. The Dibia fell to his knees, trembling. The gods have spoken. In that fiery flash, the image of a dove appeared in the flames, the same dove from Chinaza's dream. The storm ceased at once, the winds calmed, the night fell still. The Dibia looked up, awe in his eyes. It seems The gods have changed their mind. By morning, the rains that followed the storm soaked the earth. Crops sprouted again. The villagers rejoiced, believing the gods had forgiven them. The king, humbled and shaken, called for his son and Chinaza. I have learned, he said, that even a king's crown is no match for destiny. The gods write their stories in places we least expect. He turned to Chinaza. You are no longer a maiden of dust. You are now daughter of this kingdom, the wife of my son, the future queen of Nnokwa. The crowd erupted in cheers. The prince and Chinaza were married under the same Udara tree that had been split by lightning, now bound with a white cloth to symbolize peace. The king poured palm wine upon the ground and said, "Let this union remind all that true love is the purest sacrifice, and that even the gods honor a heart that does not fear."